Hello students, welcome to all in this virtual classes. This class is meant for the BA second year students. The title of the paper is Literature in English. In this video, we will give focus on the ecologist poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. In this, we will see the short synopsis about the poem, then part first, part second, and part third. A short synopsis of the poem. In short review of this poem, we will see in the first part. Throughout the part, first, the temporal world interjects itself into the storytelling heads, in which the ancient mariner captures the wedding guest and reader. In the poem's first, the mariner stops a wedding guest and forces him to listen to his story. In the poem, in the first line of the poem, we meet its protagonist, an ancient mariner. He stops one of three people on their way to a wedding celebration. The leader of the group, the wedding guest, tries to resist being stopped by the strange old man with the long grey beard and glittering eye. He explains that he is on his way to enjoy the wedding merriment. He is the closest living relative to the groom, and the festivities have already begun. Still, the ancient mariner takes his hand and begins his story. The wedding guest has no choice but to sit down on a rock to listen. The ancient mariner explains that one clear and bright day he set out sail on a ship full of happy seamen. They sailed along smoothly until they reached the equator. Suddenly, the sounds of the wedding interrupt the ancient mariner's story. The wedding guest beats his chest impatiently as the blushing bride enters the reception hall and music plays. However, he is compelled to continue listening to the ancient mariner, who goes on with his tale. As soon as the ship sails south to the equator, a terrible storm hit and forced the ship southwards. And subsequently, the ship drives by storm into desolate Antarctica. They stuck in ice. The wind blew with such force that the ship pitched down in the surf as though it were fleeing an enemy. Then the sailors reached a calm patch of sea that was wondrous cold, full of snow and glistening green icebergs as tall as the ship's mast. The sailors were the only living things in this frightening enclosed world, where the ice made terrible groaning sounds that echoed all around. Finally, an albatross appears through the fog like a messenger of hope. An albatross emerged from the mist, and the sailors revered it as a sign of good luck, as though it were a Christian soul sent by God to save them. No sooner than the albatross fed the albatross ice it's befriended by the shipmates, albatross did not ice break apart, allowing the captain to steer out of the freezing world. The wind picked up again and continued for 9 days. All the while, the albatross followed the ship, ate the food the sailors gave it, and played with them. At this point, the wedding guest noticed that the ancient mariner looks at once grave and crazed. He exclaimed, God saved the ancient mariner from the finds and plague the thus. While looks though so, the ancient mariner responds that he shoots at the albatross with his crossbow. Here are some images that how the ancient mariner forces the wedding guest to listen his story, and it is very forcefully. It is like a burden on that guest to listen the story of the ancient mariner. This is the image of a storm where it hits the ship and impales in south, and the ship struck into the ice. This is the second image where the ship struck into the ice. In the part second of the ancient mariner, the part second is the major theme is the liminality emerges in the Part second, in literature and especially romantic literature, a liminal space is where plot twists occur or things begin to go away. The crew get angry against the deeds. The ship sailed northward into the Pacific Ocean, and although the sun shone during the day and the wind remained strong, the mist held fast. The other sailors were angry. The other sailors were angry with the ancient mariners for killing the albatross, which they believed had saved them from the ice world by summing the wind. The ship beclaimed in the Pacific. The ship beclaimed into the Pacific and it sailed along merrily until it entered an uncharted part of the ocean. And the wind disappeared. The ship could not move and sat as idle as painted ship upon a painted ocean. They suffer from thirst but no water to drink. The most famous line in the rhyme of the ancient mariner are unquestionable. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. The sailors are punished for the ancient mariner's mistake, with deprivation made worse by the fact that they need so badly water is all around them but is entirely undrinkable. Since the poem's publication, these lines have come into common usage to refer to situations in which one is surrounded by the things one desires but is denied in nevertheless. They hang dead bird around mariner's neck. When in this epigraph the ancient mariner shoots the albatross because he, like humans throughout time, wants to learn about the spiritual world. The albatross is an animal, but it is akin to a spirit, and its murder wreaks spiritual havoc on the sailors. We are given no reason why the ancient mariner shoots the albatross, and he does so without premeditation. It as though he needs to bring the beauty of the spiritual world, and it is like a punishment after the killing to the bird. It is like a punishment that the bird was hanged around the neck of the mariners. Shipmate punish him for his crime, and this is the punishment which was given by the shipmates to the albatross. Day after day, we stuck nor breath nor motion as idle as a painted ship. Means they are just many days has passed, but then also they were stuck into the ice. Their ship has been stuck into the ice, and nor breathe nor motion, and such a climate, there was such an environment around them that they could not breathe properly, as well as they did not able to drink a drop of water, whether surrounded all over surrounded. Their ship is surrounded by the water, but there was not a single drop of water to drink. So day after day, day after day, we stuck not breathe nor motion as ideal as the painted ship. Dear Abroad, here is the image. It just you see the carefully, observe it very carefully, that dead albatross hanged around the mariner's neck. Why it is hanged? Can you give the answer? Why? Because this ancient mariner has shoot to the albatross. So because of as a punishment, that punishment is given by the shipmates to the mariner, that bird was hanged around the ancient mariner. In the third part, in this poem, it introduces the theme of the imprisonment. The third part is introduced the theme of the imprisonment. The poem becomes more fantastical as the spiritual world continues to punish the ancient mariner and his fellow sailors. Although the letter in the poem Coleridge reveals that a specific spirit is responsible for their demise, it seems as though the spiritual world as a whole is punishing the men. Using the natural world as its weapon, the wind refuses to blow, the ocean churns with dreadful creatures, and the sun's relentlessness heats chars the man. The a skeleton ship comes and the shipmate dies. The ghost ship, however, is separate from the natural world. It sails without wind and its inhabitants are spirits. Death and life in death are allegorical figures who become become frighteningly real for the sailors, especially the ancient mariner whose whose sole life in death wins. A ship of skeleton appears with the crew of to death life in wins, thereby dooming him to fate worse than death. Even those sailors whose souls go to hell seem freer than the ancient mariner. While their souls fly unencumbered out of their bodies, he is destined to be trapped in his indefinitely a living hell. Life in Death, who takes on the form of an alluring naked woman, represents the perpetual temptation because she wins the ancient mariner's soul. He is doomed to die only when he has paid his due, perhaps never. As we learn later, the ancient mariner is cursed to continually feel the agonizing compulsion to tell his tale to others. Although telling the tale allows him temporary relief, he may never be free. The cast dies and life in death wins Marino. The first, the cast dies, and the life in death wins Mariner means whose soul life in death wins, thereby dooming him to a fate worse than death. Even those sailors whose souls go to hell seem freer and the ancient mariner, while their souls fly unencumbered out of their bodies. Suddenly, crewmates drop down, dead one after one another, with a silent curse upon Mariner. First, he and the sailors are denied the satisfaction of drinking. Now, the ancient mariner will be denied the satisfaction of being able to die. His spirit is trapped in his own body in an excruciating state of limbo, the real realm of death, life in death. His glittering eye suggests more than madness. It is also a synecdoche representing his soul, who longs to be released from living death. Their souls fly away audibly, leaving behind dead and rotten bodies laying with open eyes. It yearns to fly out of his body like the 200 of other sailors' souls did. In fact, when the sailors' souls are released, they fly past an ancient mariner with the same sound as the arrow he shot at the albatross. Initially, the ancient mariner is relieved to have survived his shipmates, but in retrospect, the sounds tantalizes him, which constantly stares at him as it reminds him that his impulsive scene is the reason for his torture. In the part third, as we have seen that in the part third is specially introduces the theme of imprisonment. As we have said, the ancient mariner is doomed to be trapped in a state of death-like life. His own immortal body is his prison. The ship itself is a prison for the sailors when there is no wind to carry it. Even before the ghost ship comes near enough for the ancient mariner to see its crew, it seems to imprison the very sun with his masts. In this image, we can see the skeleton ship arrives, and in this skeleton ship, there is one witch with the and that riding in that ship. Is this way, students? I think you have learned. You have understood very well. Understood the short synopsis or short summary of this ancient mariner poem, as well as the part first, part second, and the part third. If you are not understand, you are not able to understand properly, you can review the same video often. Thank you, students. Thank you, and have a nice day. Next, we will see in the next video. Thank you.